Yeah.
What's he talking about there?
Well, I don't think it'd be the Germans, and I don't think it'd be the Japanese. I'll tell you that. My feeling from what I've read, a little bit I've read about this, and it's very little, is that when Hitler had his scientists and the troops go to the Antarctica, they ran into aliens and somehow worked out some type of deal where but then you would think if the aliens were working with the Germans, why didn't they give them enough to end? Maybe they didn't want Germany at that point, even mankind, to even win a war. Maybe they just gave him enough to hang himself.
Or maybe they did win the war. It's just maybe they're still there underground and they have a whole inner Earth empire.
Yeah.
If the world is hollow, I mean, they could be doing pretty well down there, but it's just like faking your death and living another life, So, that's one other thing to consider. I don't know if it would be true or not, but
well, I do think that there is, caverns and stuff. It could go. I just don't know. I mean, again, maybe the government knows the truth behind this. I'm sure they do. But they're not going to sit there and say that there's an inner world. It's a possibility. I mean, they are now talking about they want to drill down to the mantle of the earth and, take samples, which I find kind of strange on that. But I do think, something did happen because, like you said, that a Navy destroyer disappeared, sunk.
Yeah.
The planes.
Soldiers did die. I mean, if you look online, you will see that soldiers actually, they name them. And this is a peaceful expedition. So what's going on? As for drilling to the center of the Earth, I would love to see how that turns out because, a lot of people think that the center of the Earth is just like lava. It's all lava and whatnot. But it's not really. The whole lava is I think it only goes 20 miles below our surface.
Yeah. After
that, we really don't know what's going on there.
Yeah, and
we don't.
It could be, the Earth could have hollow spots around it, So, I mean, it's a possibility that there is, a civilization of aliens or maybe even man, has been rebooted several times. And there's a civilization, underground that we don't know of, or we do know about it. We just don't want the people to know about it.
Or maybe what we consider aliens are actually from our own planet, from the inner world.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, this was... the hollow Earth has been around. This whole concept has been around for hundreds and hundreds of years. Edmund Halley of Halley's Comet, this was his idea. He was the first one to propose this, that the Earth could be hollow. And then you got to look at other planets too. All planets must be physically the same to a certain extent. And there was the Apollo 12 mission where they conducted a seismic experiment by firing a rocket at the surface of the moon. And what happened when the rocket hit is it rang. The moon rang like a bell.
Oh, yeah.
For almost an hour.
Yeah.
So they're like, is it hollow? So, there's that to consider.
Well, there's also speculation about the moon, too, that the moon was not a natural formation.
Right.
It could be actually, something else that I've read everything where it could have been a base. Actually, the whole moon is a base for aliens, and it's just there, so I don't know, like a satellite. So I mean, it's possible. I mean, I guess too, if you fired a missile or a rocket into the moon or detonate something on the moon and it echoes for like an hour or more, something, and it rings, something is telling you that it's not solid.
Yeah, no, something is going on there. And then you can tie in all this stuff too. To current events too. Like, have you read Missing 911, Dave Paulides' books?
No, I have not.
Oh, see, he's great. Dave Paulides is a retired policeman, detective actually, and he researches missing people that are going missing in the woods.
Oh, hey, yes. We talked about that on one of my shows. That since going back 4 years ago, there was like over 1,600 people that have gone into the national parks and never came out. In some cases, it's been like little kids, right? That they've gone camping with their parents. The parents turn their head, they're gone. Now, right there by the campsite, there's a big, rough river, and there's a whole bunch of rivers in the area, right? They find the remains a few days later 15 miles away on the side of a mountain. And that's kind of strange. How could a little kid, 5 years old, go 15 miles, go up a mountain, cross all these rivers, you know?
Miles and miles away. It makes no sense because, I mean, a child will take the path of least resistance, which is typically down, not up, and not miles and miles away. And these are like miles of like flying over this. It's just tough and rough terrain. Like a toddler's not going to be able to do this. And Dave Paulides is the guy who really brought this to everyone's attention. He's been putting out this series of books for like the last 10 years called Missing 411.
Yeah.
And he does a great job because he builds profiles. He compares all these different cases. And there's so many similarities that it's undeniable. There's something going on. There's some type of intelligence taking these people. I mean, it's kids. There's different profiles, or there's similar profiles where it's like kids, children. There's usually water, a body of water involved somewhere. Berries. They've been eating berries. Sometimes they're found. Sometimes they're not found. But most importantly, and curious, which ties this together, German descent. They're typically of German descent.
Yeah,
that's disappearing.
Yeah, that's kind of strange there too.
It's very strange. But if there are underground bases or an underground world, because also then other people that are disappearing are educated, like professors, doctors, scientists, really like well-to-do folks in the knowledge department, which would be important to a budding society or a society somewhere. So
yeah, it was a case like a woman jogger who was actually a scientist was out jogging with her friends. Okay, and they were going up this trail up to.
She was ahead of them.
Yeah, she was ahead of them, and then all of a sudden, boom, she's not there.
Yeah, they never found. Oh, did they find her though? This was in Maine, I believe. This was in Maine.
Yeah.
I think they finally found her body, but it was near a military camp.
Yeah.
It was on military property that they found her.
Yeah. But then the situation, there was, I guess she jogged up and down that trail a lot, and she knew it. So, all of a sudden divert when she was with a group of people somewhere else. And then, be found where she was found. They said it would be almost impossible to end up where she ended up. And that's where a lot of the cases have been. People have ended up in places where, that are almost impossible. I mean, it's, like inexperienced woodsmen, hunters, doctors, scientists, a lot of people.
Yeah. And it's typically what happens is they show up, if the bodies do show up, they show up in places also that were already searched.
Oh, yeah.
And search and rescue had already been over hundreds of times, and then suddenly the body turns up and they're shocked. They're like, no, this makes no sense. Or if they're using dogs to help in the search, the dogs freak out. They don't know which way to go. They usually sit down and cry or whatnot. And this is, these dogs, as Dave Paulides says, this is their bread and butter. This is what they're bred to do. So for them to freak out like this, something is going on.
Oh, yeah. And that's what, and, it's so, how can I say it? I was talking earlier today on Facebook Live. Back in the early 2000s, I had a friend who just got out of medical school and did his internship. And we decided to go. I was managing a group of camera stores, and that's how we met. And we decided, hey, let's go a trip to the Canadian Rockies and do some pictures of old silver mines and, old cemeteries and stuff like that. Yeah. So we're up the Canadian Rockies out in the middle of nowhere, and we're looking for this old internment camp where they put Japanese prisoners in during World War II.
Yep, I have one near me.
Yeah, and we went about 2 miles in the woods. And the trail was almost not there. Yeah. And we ran across an old cemetery. It probably the latest one we could find anywhere is probably like 1890s. So we found the old couple buildings that was left from the internment camp. We found a big, huge mine, what was left of it. Yeah. And I was sitting there. We were taking pictures, and I told Bob, I said, "Hey, take a look over there. Look at that bear." And it was like maybe 100, 200 yards away, And we're looking at it, and I going, hey, that can't be a bear because it has real long arms. And then it kind of yelled out a loud scream. And I know bears don't do screams. And before that, I had the experience of that UFO thing or whatever that was. I mean, whatever. Yeah. But I've never ran across a Bigfoot or anything in my life or anything it would resemble. I didn't even believe in it, okay?
Yeah.
So I got so scared. He got so scared. We just like grabbed our camera gear and took off running as fast as we could, which we were about 2 miles away from the road. What made it worse is my wife just bought a new car a week before we went on our trip. She didn't want me to take it because she was scared we'd get it damaged or whatever. So we're running to the car, right? We get there in probably about 15, 20 minutes. That's how long it took us. We get to the car, and about 100 feet away, give or take, we saw, it looked like a bear, but it was not a bear. It had, again, long arms. It took a tree, which was about 20 feet tall, pine fir. I'm not sure what type of tree. I'm not into wood. And it was bending it over like a nice bow, and it did a scream. I got in that car so fast, hit the ignition. Yeah. My friend was trying to get into the car, and I was dragging him with one leg in the car. The thing threw a rock and hit my wife's car and put a couple scratches on the fender, which I didn't ever tell my wife about, and I don't think she ever noticed. But I can honestly tell you, it couldn't have been a bear, because a bear wouldn't have. It knew where the car was. That was number one. I couldn't figure out how could it beat us there. It was there when we got there.
Oh my
God. You kind of wonder, like, okay, if there's Bigfoots, could they be tied in with some form of aliens or something? That's why I have an open mind for this stuff.
Oh, yeah, no doubt. And well, in fact, with these cases, these missing 401 cases, some people speculate it's a Bigfoot that's taking these people.
Yeah, I don't know. But this thing, like what we ran into, it had to be very intelligent to know where our car was and to actually get there before we got there.
Yeah.
So whatever we ran into, we walked into its territory. It didn't want us there. It wanted to make a point. If we didn't get out of there, it was going to do something about it.
Oh, that's my worst nightmare right there.
And my friend, again, he just opened up his practice. He spent a lot of money mortgaging and borrowing from relatives to open up his medical practice, right? Yeah. He sat there and said, "Hey, Gary, don't you even bring this up to anybody, because I'll lose my medical practice and my license because they'll think I'm a nut." And we actually killed the trip and turned around and came back home. We were so shook up. It just, and to this day, I have nightmares about it, because it's something that was there, and I can tell you it was not a bear. So unless there's a man that's that tall, with super long arms and can scream like that, there was something there.
That is awesome. That is a great story.
Yeah, and maybe it's a pet from an alien. You never know. Like we have dogs.
They think they're related. I mean, typically there's lights in the sky where Bigfoots are seen too, so they could be dropping them off, picking them up. Who knows? Or they're just interested in them as well.
Yeah.
But it's very interesting. And so the fact that these people are disappearing too, and if this is alien or if they're inner Earth beings. Actually, in one of my stories for Agata about the inner worlds, I throw a Bigfoot in there, actually, inside the planet. Uh-huh. He's one of the characters in the story I'm telling, so that's great that you brought that up. But the fact these people are disappearing, the fact they have German last names, a lot of them are heritage, like the majority of them, is maybe there's a deal made with our government with something or someone, or this is like a tribute or a culling or a harvesting almost, So there's like that kind of tie-in too that you could easily tie in with.
Well, maybe they need. I hate to say it. Maybe they need more people to keep the population going.
Yeah, exactly.
That or we taste good. One of the two.
Yeah, it's very interesting. It's very, very interesting and creepy. And the thing is, national parks don't keep track of missing persons, which is bizarre.
Well, isn't it that he tried to get the information under the Freedom of Information Act, and then they came back and wanted a fortune to get any transcripts?
$1 million or something ridiculous. That was I think that was in California at Yosemite.
Yeah.
That was Yosemite. For the most part, the national parks do not keep track of the missing persons, which is bizarre.
Well, they don't. In a lot of the cases, too, they end the search really fast, too. They don't.
because typically bad weather happens. That's